Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we talked about our favorite mercenary in all of Teyvat, the Flame Main Dia.
Wait, what's that sound? Is it the sound of double-cheeked up cake running at us? Quick! It's the Duke Wriothesley of Meropide!
Looking for someone to punch in the face? Try us and find out. Over at talesofteyvat.com, where each episode has its own dedicated page, curated by Wriothesley #1 fan, Tiff.
Our site also includes links from our past seasons and special episodes, artist spotlights from the community for every episode, and wallpapers to download. I'd also like to mention that there is a brand new map, too. If you would like a wallpaper of Teyvat, it is finally updated with all of what we have.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, please feel free to give us a rating on Apple or Spotify or Amazon, wherever you listen to your podcast, so we can let other travelers know that we might be fun.
Tiff is very tickled by that.
I didn't expect it.
We might be fun.
We might be. It might be.
But not as fun as Wriothesley's right ass cheek. So imagine how fun both of them
I
are.
the left one.
The left one.
I want that center bit. Just fucking vibrate me with those cheeks. Solid snake me, bitch.
So we've actually talked a lot about Wriothesley in the past, but just about if
His
he was
butt.
on the list of top butts.
Yeah.
So where does he lie on that list right now?
We have separated the list, okay? Okay. We have mask presenting butts, and then we have femme presenting butts, right? Because everyone has an ass and everyone shits. But we've come to an agreement, me and Tiff, that the femme presenting ass
Is Shenhe.
#1, like I've always fucking said.
Shenhe in her new outfit. Let's make sure we're specific here.
I think Doro has a video and clip of multiple different views of that ass in multiple different outfits.
Yes, going up the stairs
Oh,
in Dua Lipa Gorge.
so good. But we also agreed, still, #1 still has not been knocked off that ass is Wriothesley in the mask presenting booty butt glorious triumph tier. I don't know. Even Paimon can't get enough. And Paimon only likes food.
You can say that he takes the cake in the butt category. Wow, wow, wow.
I feel like they actually changed the tall male model for him because most of them have a flat ass like Kaya.
I have issues right now. Brandon, were you consulted at all on this change of the list? Because I wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not know that me and Al were the commissioners of the
Booty butt of the Teyvat Booty Assessment Committee?
I don't consent to the list separation.
I mean, I don't agree with it because, my vote is for Mona, but I was overruled.
You are overruled.
Not a fan. But anyway, best ass in all of Teyvat is Wriothesley, followed up by Kaveh, but just in his story trailer. Or his video trailer, whatever it was.
I think Ben would beg to differ. I'd have to put him on the stairs, honestly. We have to see him walk up. We got to see that booty.
If you want to see that, let us know.
What I don't approve of is that they changed the male model, right? And then didn't apply it to Ito.
No backsies.
No, but they could have. You know what would have been a fucking amazing is if they updated his model to actually look like a beefy Oni that he is.
I tend to forget that he's not as beefy as you think he is.
Compared to Al Haytham and Wriothesley.
He just has abs.
He does just have abs. And he's strong, but I want him to be fucking thick.
So let's go on to somebody who is thick with the thick ass of rice.
That's the whole lore right there. I think we can end the episode now.
I think we're done, yeah.
So Wriothesley is the Duke, but more specifically, he's the Duke of the Fortress of Meropide. What does that really mean? I'm not 100% sure still. He's in charge of the underwater jail.
He's the warden. He's literally the warden of this prison.
Feels like he's a step up from a warden.
A director warden? I don't know.
His actual title is administrator.
He's the administrator of the fortress.
Director of imprisonment.
He runs the whole thing.
It's interesting that he's an administrator, but like he literally just like kicks people's asses.
Yeah, he has two titles, Duke and Administrator of the Fortress of Meropide. And his Duke title is basically an honorary title that was given to him by the Palais Marmonia, aka the castle thing that Neuvillette lives in and where Furina used to live in. And so they apparently they just occasionally hand out these like honorary titles. And they actually tried to give one to Navia's father, Callus. So he was offered the title of Baron and he was like, no, that's like a hollow title. I won't take it. And he saw that Wriothesley got the title of Duke, and he was like talking to Navia later and was like, he actually really deserves it. Like he's a really good leader and, you know, is on the up and up. So
yeah, and people digged it so much, even in Meropide, that they started calling him His Grace because he is such a popular character that they've started to treat him with nobility, even though there is no nobility.
And for those who want a little bit of history, or if you want to understand the hierarchy in Tales of Teyvat, Bridgerton edition, it goes Baron, Viscount, Earl, Marquis, Duke, Prince, Grand Duke, Prince. Some people call them Grand Princes if you're Russian. King and then Emperor. Baron's at the lowest, which is like a county. Duke, think a state. He owns North Carolina, let's say that.
But also with the title, like Neuvillette really had to fight to get him that title. Weren't people not necessarily happy before he got it with giving out that title?
Absolutely. Because all of these titles are ascribed at birth and he's earned it. He's been titled. He's been given this without, I mean, Nuvi fucking knew. Nuvi's like, yes, this man's with his glorious ass has done some great shit, even though he's a convicted felon, a murderer.
But what did did people actually oppose? Like, was Callus given Baron beforehand, and do people have a problem with that one?
I'm not sure. I didn't see anything specifically about Callus. I just saw that people were like 50-50 about giving him the title of Duke. But what I thought was really interesting too is, you know, Neuvillette has like a whole voice line about Wriothesley where he talks about how trustworthy he is. And he says, I fought hard for the title and reputation that he now has. So he's not saying that Wriothesley fought for it. He said, I fought hard for the title and reputation that he now has.
yeah, and he actually bestowed the title on Wriothesley.
Neuvillette even says, I expect you to think that I've been simply duped by his flattery and appearance of loyalty, but to that I would quote an Inazuma proverb that basically means that some things are best left unsaid. For me, it almost felt as if Neuvillette felt guilty for the ruling he had to give years earlier about Wriothesley's crimes, and that seeing Wriothesley and knowing the truth behind the crimes that he committed and how they really were a form of preservation for him and other people, I think Neuvillette would have liked to have not sent him to jail and had no choice because of the Oratrice. And I almost feel like that was his way of making things right.
Just Neuvillette being the best.
Yeah. I think it's like the only way that someone higher up like that would know how to do it. You know, someone so like pristine, gentleman, rule follower like Neuvillette would.
It's almost as if like dragons should be ruling to that.
Hey, you might be right.
I mean, funny enough, the only people that can bestow titles are emperors and kings. I think we have a point there.
What? Oh, because gods can't bestow titles?
No, but kings can. And he bestowed a title upon Wriothesley.
But he's not a king either. He's a judge.
Mm-hmm.
But he is a king because he can bestow titles, which means he is the rightful ruler of Teyvat.
Of Teyvat?
Yes!
How the hell did he get that title?
Well, he's sort of like the only surviving dragon in a way.
Exactly. Which means he would be the one and true heir of Teyvat. I'm getting way into Arthurian vibes here.
It's okay. It's interesting. I'm gonna go consult with Nouveau after this about whether or not he wants to rule all of Teyvat or just like stay in charge of
Oh, tell
Fontaine.
him I said hey.
I will. We
Tell him
have
to come
tea.
back for that booty call.
We have tea once a week, so I'll make sure to check in. But anyway, so Wriothesley we meet for the first time in our Archon quest, and it's when we are told that we're going to be sent to prison as a haha, so that we can go undercover to look for Child. Child has been sent to prison for fighting in court, which is such a child with an E thing to do.
I mean, it's a child without an E thing to do too.
Not as much.
Well, I mean, Wriothesley was a teenager when he went to prison.
Yeah, but he didn't fight in court.
I mean, well, we didn't know did he plead guilty?
Yeah, no, he did.
No, he
yeah,
did.
He was like,
I'm fine
I
with
did
it."
what I did, cuff
Yeah.
me, bitch.
But we first meet Wriothesley when we're sent to prison to go undercover to look for a child who has gone missing in prison. When we first get there, we are insulted by this guy who is a jerk face to us.
I wrote it down as he was an asshat.
He was an asshat. He was so rude.
Or an ass face. His name is Deacon.
And so Deacon,
Sorry to any deacons out there, but it sounds like an asshat name.
if you're a deacon, let us know. We'll apologize to you and you only.
Wait, the position or the name? Because there's multiple.
I only apologize to those named deacon, not
Yeah.
titled deacon. But Deacon is a jerk face to us, and all of a sudden Wriothesley shows up, and I will never forget my messages to this group of people right here, my co-hosts, when I was like, why is Wriothesley just showing me around the fortress, the hottest thing I've seen in this game?
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yes.
Joe does such a fantastic job of doing his voice.
Yes.
He does.
Josia, amazing. I don't know how you make a two-dimensional character that hot just by talking.
Yeah.
And I mean it.
That deep of a, just like, I mean, yes, Canaan's, but like such a deep character in general. There's so much. I mean, all these actors have such a amazing range of emotion. You have to for voice acting, but oh my God, I got chills at the end of his story quest.
I felt like his sexy voice was a little too expected, so it didn't really work on me. Sorry.
Oh, I had no idea what I was walking into. I was like, I think I was so focused on finding Child. Like, I was like, I'm going in to find my mans. And then I was like, oh, maybe I found my new mans.
Is this another Zhao rebound?
No, Child. It's a Child rebound in case he died.
Yeah, but you rebounded on Zhao when Child betrayed you. Is this the same situation?
Well, unlike Enjo, I don't think he purposely betrayed me. So, I don't know. Anyway, enough about me. We go into prison and we have the opportunity to rat Deacon out when Wriothesley comes over to introduce himself. Did you guys rat Deacon out?
No.
Nah.
I think I did.
You did? Oh, so what did
I
it?
think I did. I was like, I'm going to be a Karen.
I have a question then, because that would have really changed. Because I mean, not that it changes that much, but like the whole dialogue after that. But there's a time that Deacon actually comes back to us and he is like, well, you were so nice to me, I have to still repay that debt, and like does something nice for us still.
Mhm.
Which I wonder, like, did he just not do that for you, or do you remember him ever coming back to you?
I think it's so hard to remember. I think he did come back and say something, but it was more like, yeah, I don't remember. But I do know that what you just said was not familiar, so I definitely ratted him out. I'm like, if you're going to be a jerk to me, then guess what? I'm going to call you out in front of your boss. Like, don't be an asshole to me.
Yeah, that you're right. But I also didn't rat him out. And he does, Wriothesley like gifts him like coupons as a thank you for being nice to us. And then we move on and Wriothesley's like, I'm going to give you a tour, where Wriothesley basically says, hey, I know you think this whole thing is a secret, but I know why you're here. And I know you're really not prisoners. So nice to meet you. I'm the Duke. Great to get to know you. If you need anything, let me know. Because we were kind of told we were going down there and then everyone thought we were criminals. And
Yeah.
so we find out that Wriothesley minimally knows the truth and is our friend. And we find out eventually, we run to Linny, we do some things with him. We're going undercover, we're trying to find Child, we're having visions of Child because we have his vision, which is a fun little play on words there. And we find out through Wriothesley and everything that the primordial seawater is slowly trying to come out from the ground here, and that people are really in danger. And we find out a lot of the history about the fortress and how it was originally made to shun all the prisoners and how they slowly developed it into a beautiful, wonderful place for people to live, which is kind of weird to say. And a lot of that was thanks to Wriothesley, who created the coupon system and really seemed to create order down there.
Well, he didn't create the coupon system. He just reformed it.
Yeah, he created the coupon cafeteria. I always want to call it the cafe. It's not. It's the coupon cafeteria.
There was a different administrator before him who created that system and let it sort of run rampant and allowed it to be used in really shady ways, and basically created it to control everyone for his own benefit.
And he even used food kind of as a way too, because that's one of the things that happened with the coupon cafeteria was people were able to get a welfare meal. So this way, not to make them starve, they could actually go ahead and go get a welfare meal. I mean, they had to use their coupons and stuff like that too, but at least it kept them fed and not in dire straits while they're working.
Whereas the previous administrator was it will cost you an insane amount of coupons to buy anything. So you have to basically do illegal stuff to win more coupons, which is what Wriothesley did. He actually got very rich in the prison system by fighting in the underground ring.
Didn't he fight the administrator basically to rights to be the administrator?
Yeah, he ends up telling us that for anybody who doesn't know at this point, he was prisoner beforehand. And then at the end of his sentence, he was really mad about what the administrator was doing because of his past, but also just being a well-natured, nice person too. He was just kind of this is sucky to do to people. And on his last day, he was like, hey, I'll fight the administrator.
Well, yeah. And also this is because he was fighting in the underground ring in the prison, and he actually gathered a fortune. He was richer than everyone else in the prison put together. And then one day he discovered that all of his coupons were taken away. So the administrator was he's getting too powerful, he's too rich, I'm going to take all of his currency. And that is when he snapped and was we're going to fight. I challenge you to a duel. Very
Alexander Hamilton of him.
Yeah.
And what does the administrator do? Runs the fuck away.
As he fucking should.
I mean, I would too. And look at those gauntlets that guy has, that he's wearing, So yeah, he runs away and now nobody knows, he just left and Wriothesley just took the job, which is the strangest thing.
Which is I'm so frustrated because this duel was to take place on the day that Wriothesley was finishing his sentence and would go free. I'm why would you schedule a duel to be on that day? To me, that made it very clear that he didn't want to leave.
Yeah,
which is a common thing with the prisoners and Meropide. They often do not want to go back into regular society, which is so real of prisoners, at least in America.
I think a lot of it is people wanted to leave under the reign of the old administrator. I think Wriothesley, because he is so good-natured and he has a very straightforward image of justice, if he was going to leave, he didn't want to leave knowing the people there were still kind of being starved and exploited. He wanted to at least try and do something. And in the end, that kind of got him to be where he is.
But don't you feel he did that because part of him wanted to stay? He designed this duel to be on the day that he was going to get released.
100%. And this actually goes back to the people who started Meropide, actually, that because they were kind of I guess a bit of like refugees from like the Algeria times and stuff. We don't know the exact history of how Meropide was built and who was running it and stuff, but we know bits and pieces that Wriothesley's actually put together. And basically, like the people who started it and it's became this prison and was built. And people were kind of like, even back then, were like, you know what? Once I'm here, I kind of like it. Like, I don't have to go back into the world. And I'm sure that there's been many administrators over that time because it's a very long time span. And assuming that they're human, there probably was a lot that kind of passed back and forth. But even back then, before it was the place it is now, people looked at it almost as a bit of a sanctuary for if they were just different, I guess, in a way. They were understood and accepted down there, or they knew how it was going to work, where it was going to be harder in the, as they call it, the overworld.
And I think we're talking a lot about, like, if you know Wriothesley's past, you know why he did this. So maybe we should talk a little bit about his childhood, which is like super unfortunate and sad.
Yeah.
Unfortunate events.
As per most orphans in this game, he had a sad orphan life.
Yep. So, such a British thing. He's a goddamn British orphan.
Is this like Giles from Buffy if he had never left his little like emo occult group?
Probably.
Oh my God, when he was Ripper.
Yeah, when he was Ripper.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my God. It's so funny because when we started this freaking podcast, we had a do you prefer Buffy or do you prefer Charmed? And I was the only one who preferred Charmed, and now I just keep making Buffy references.
Yeah, because we changed it. We changed what you wanted.
That's all me.
You're welcome.
Wriothesley, unfortunately, is not a vampire slayer or a watcher that we know of, unless he's going to slay Rosaria.
Damn.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
Oh, no.
The new shit.
New lore?
Tiff
What
just
is
revealed a
happening?
lot about
You
her
did
fantasy.
Tiff's the anti-shipper, so she's not allowed to like it.
I ain't shipping it on. It's just, one day. It's one night. It's fine. Whatever. Anyhow, he's an orphan.
Wow.
An orphan.
He's putting it right back on the back of the orphans, Tiff. I see how it is. You're a regular old Teyvatian, aren't you?
But he was a different type of orphan. He actually had foster parents.
Yeah, can you consider them foster parents or foster?
Well, they were technically a foster family.
They were foster parents. They were fostering. And at first it seemed so hunky-dory. All these kids, like they're fostering them and they get adopted when they get older. And it turns out that was not the case. That was absolutely horribly not the case. I would have hoped this man's had a happy time, but he got some fucked up serial killing foster parents.
Yeah, the foster parents, they weren't killing all of the children. They were only killing
not all of them.
Not all of
Just
them.
the ones that wouldn't
Killing
sell at the
more than
market.
3 people is considered a serial killer.
They would kill the ones who didn't sell or found out their plan.
Human trafficking.
They were selling them as like, as he puts it, he calls them like livestock. So they would take them to a market and basically sell them off. And if they were sold off, at least to the little kids, they just never saw them again and thought they were just off living these wonderful lives, but they weren't. The ones who didn't sell came back and were quote unquote disposed of.
I'm going to make a reference real quick. So in Promised Neverland is basically the same thing, except it's a nun that like takes care of this orphanage. And then when a kid gets adopted, aka comes of age, they get eaten by a monster.
Well, let me tell you, I'm not trusting any orphanage for the rest of my life. In Teyvat, in other animes, I'm going to see an orphanage and I'm going to assume there's child sacrifice like in Economia.
Yeah.
I mean, the Narcissenkreuz Institute was kind of fine.
No, they all died. A terrible murderous death.
Damn.
Do you think that Lynette and Linny were adopted by the same people as Wriothesley? Because wasn't Lynette sort of given to some kind of like creepy noble and Arlecchino saved her from them?
Who knows? Maybe they were selling those kids to the previous.
They couldn't have been selling to the previous knave because by then Arlecchino was in power. So it seems like it would be a really good guess.
But it probably was happening with other, like they weren't the only foster families.
Wait, and they're dead.
Yeah, they're dead.
They're dead by the time Linny and Lynette come around. I was like, absolutely. That's a great like point. No, they're dead.
I'm sure that they're not the only like, ring in town of like getting rid of kids and stuff. So, but I'm sure that it's something very similar that Vinny and Lynette were kind of in that same kind of thing. There's a lot of deep-seated Fontanian bullshit.
It's like you gotta watch the movie Taken and then follow it to find where these kids are.
Wasn't Freminet's mother pressured to sell him?
Yes.
And that's why she took him to the House of the Hearth?
Yep.
Like, why is there so much child trafficking happening in Fontaine?
Yeah, it's really ridiculous.
You know what happened, guys? These guys went to a fountain and they wished for a kid while drunk. And then they got a kid and they're like, shit, I don't remember making this wish.
Yeah. I don't want this kid.
Oh no.
This one.
But then why are there so many people willing to buy kids?
Child labor laws.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wait until Nouvelette finds out.
You know what I do love about Wriothesley's story is that, there's so many stories of adults killing children in this game. And this is the story that we get where a child kills the adult.
Finally.
Well, what happened?
So Wriothesley started figuring shit out because he's a smart guy, even as a kid. And when I say kid, he was about a young teenager at this point.
Yeah, his age is debatable.
Yeah, he started figuring stuff out. And we're going to imagine it took more than 2 minutes to figure it out of, seeing this kind of repetition happen. And then other kids that to him and these kids, they lived these perfect lives. And then all of a sudden that started to crumble and they figured out what was going on. And he murdered the foster parents. He just did them in. And he tells us as if he was telling us that he had toast for breakfast. He's just like, yep, I killed them. They're
I
dead.
love it.
He has not, and I don't think he should have any remorse or anything like that, but
The actual murder was very violent,
Yeah.
for him too. They really fucked him up.
yeah, they didn't go down easy.
Yeah, he was bleeding, he lost consciousness and woke up in a hospital. So
With his hands handcuffed to a bed.
Is this why he's got that fucking handcuff kink?
No.
No, he actually, his gauntlets, that's actually from even when he was earlier, before he was living with the foster parents, right? Not just, that probably switches out the story a little bit more. Did he make them when he was in the streets?
yeah, he made them when he was sort of leaving his foster home and going into the streets and sort of hustling and doing apprenticeships and odd jobs. And he created these mechanical gauntlets and then little by little would start upgrading them based on whatever he could get his hands on.
Mhm.
And back then the pancration ring was not in Meropide. It was just out at anywhere.
Mhm.
The location would change all the time. And so he started actually participating in that and winning and getting money. So every time he would win, he would get more money to put into his gauntlets. And at some point, they got so fantastical that the Fontaine Research Institute people were like, oh, what do you got there? And they actually helped him take them to the next level.
Which I just want to go back to the fight with his foster parents real quick.
Yeah.
Is that where his scars come from? Or are his scars assumed to be from something else? Because he tells us that his scars are from a fight with a sea monster and then goes, haha, you actually believe that? Stupid. And he moves on and says that that's not really what happened. Which, another side note, there's a really fun, I don't know if you guys have seen it, there's a really fun fan animation that came out, I believe, during Hoyoverse this year, which shows Wriothesley, Navia, Beto, and someone else fighting a sea monster. And I was like, I wonder if this is an ode to Wriothesley's little joke with us.
That's cute.
It's possible that he could have gotten at least some of the scars during that altercation and that fucking them right up. Hell yeah. But I also think it could be that some of them he got during the ring.
We never find out.
We don't actually know, but I tend to lean toward the side of, especially the ones that kind of go from they splay him down the middle. I feel like that was from the fight with the parents, but I don't know if it's just because I like the villainous side of it a little bit more.
Yeah, they really tried to just kill him.
Yeah, I sort of interpret it as scars he got from killing them, that whatever that fight was that left him hospitalized.
It's just so sad to think that this thing that he did as a teenager has haunted him his whole life. And while Wriothesley has definitely made the best of it with everything that he has done in Meropide, I think it's sad that he can mentally move on, but potentially just always see those scars of battle with them. He could totally mentally move past it, and everyone around him could be understanding of it, but he will never be able to completely forget it. Because if every time he looks in the mirror, he sees that.
Yeah.
And then he sees Siegeween right behind the mirror, like, here you go. Here's the bandage.
I feel like the type of personality that we've learned from him, I don't think he would have let himself forget it, because I don't think he takes that lightly. But he'll do what he needs to do, but he's a very sympathetic. He's such a smart man, but he's also just, a very moral kind of person as well, as much as he doesn't come off that way.
Right.
Well, he was super traumatized by, killing his foster parents. I mean, go figure. But there's something in one of his like character descriptions that says that like no one can remember what happened like it was yesterday the way that Wriothesley can, and he doesn't expect anyone to.
What's really interesting with Wriothesley is that there is this like juxtaposition of like he's the big scary bad man in the underworld, and then we meet him and he's very calm, he's very courteous. He's like, hey, if anyone messes with you, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. My office doors are always open. You want a cup of tea? Here's a cup of tea. He's very lighthearted. He likes to make jokes, and he also knows when not to say things. Like during the Archon quest, there's a part with Neuvillette where he kind of stops himself and he's like, never mind, this is a serious moment.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh, when he like stops himself with the Neuvillette talk. Yeah.
Like, because he's poking him, and then he's like, guess it's just your morality.
Quite literally poking the dragon.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you think Wriothesley knows?
Oh yeah.
Was that confirmed?
No.
Right, yeah. I feel like he definitely
It wasn't
knows.
confirmed, but I think that conversation was exactly him knowing and like telling Neuvillette, like, I think he says, so what's your secret? And he's like, never mind. But you see Neuvillette kind of like closes his eyes, like, and has to sigh, like, this fucker is gonna give it up and tell well, it's only Clorind with him at that point. But
do you think that Neuvillette, when he found out that Wriothesley took over, almost was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, this is the guy I need in charge. Because whoever's in charge of Meropide really needs to know that Neuvillette is the Hydro Dragon because of the Primordial Sea. I mean, that Wriothesley immediately is like, yeah, this shit happens. We gotta call Nuvi.
Yeah, I mean, so like, because Nuvi knew what was down there under that plugged gate, but Wriothesley didn't until he was like walking around. Like, it's not like it didn't come with like a direction. He didn't get directions to the place because apparently this place is even huger than it looks, because there's just random like rooms and stuff that nobody's ever seen.
Lots of abandoned places.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really interesting though, to be like, okay, well, yeah, like Nuvi needs to have, maybe that's where the last administrator went. Do you think Nuvi was just like, wait, here's my opportunity. Let me go like get rid of this other guy because he's not helping me out. And I don't know, it's going to be like, work out too well.
I would think that whoever the administrator is would have to be somewhat in the know with Neuvillette. But we also don't really know when the Primordial Sea started to rise. Like, Wriothesley notes that it's been happening for a while, but that's since he took over.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows if the last administrator even knew? But I think you have a good point, Tiff, that it's like, if Neuvillette noticed that the Primordial Sea was acting up, he might have taken advantage of the opportunity and been like, I'm gonna get rid of this guy because I need someone I can trust. And I do think Neuvillette, when he ruled on Wriothesley's case, knew that Wriothesley was good-hearted despite being a murderer.
I think that in Wriothesley's character stories, it sort of makes it clear that he found out that the prophecy of the flood would happen after he was in charge, because he would go for swims around the fortress. And then he noticed that his skin color would change after a certain point and become kind of red. And that's when he was like, oh, maybe this prophecy is true. And that's when he started using his resources to build the boat.
Right, and it's funny because he does have a voice line about like post Archon where he's like, I went for a swim today and my skin was a lot less red than normal, so I guess we're good. I guess we're finally in the clear.
What does that mean? Like, why would it be red? Is it because his cells are trying to dissolve?
Because it hurts them.
Yeah, they're trying to burn themselves away.
Well, when Freminet, during the Archon, just to even go back to the Archon quest, Freminet goes looking for Child. He goes and dives and he runs into some primordial seawater and passes out. But like his like blood pressure goes up and like really like it's getting bad for him. Like he gets really almost like very sick. So I almost wonder if it is kind of like a poisoning at first before.
Like a fever burning up kind of sensation.
Because,
Oh,
but like
yeah.
if you go back to the first part of the Archon when Jude was just dissolving people with water, you know, we see somebody die real quick with primordial seawater.
You have to remember that the primordial seawater in Meropide is diluted.
Oh, good point. Good point. Thank you.
That's the same thing with the absinthe that they drink. Like it's diluted, and that's why they're able to drink it and get like the fevery high.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, imagine like Freminet disappear. I'd cry. I've seen a lot of really cute fan art of Wriothesley and Freminet where like Wriothesley kind of takes Freminet in and he's like, listen, man, you tried to be like the hero and you're like the quiet guy and I'm also a quiet guy and I get it. And it's so cute, like almost like a mentor mentee.
That's sweet.
It reminds me of Batman and Robin in a way.
Yeah, I would love to see more of the two of them together.
Yes.
And also, let's not forget that Wriothesley lets Sidrine use a gun.
Yeah. One of the best things that comes out of that arc, that Hulk.
I don't think let's.
I think let's is the perfect word. He's like, all right, you can use this. It's fine.
She is her own woman and she can do whatever the fuck she wants and he cannot do shit.
No, but Sidrine knows that he's in charge. And if he didn't want that in the fortress, that she wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
She would respect that.
Because he even says at one point, like, oh, well, I may have had to have Sidrine shoot him again.
Which total, like, kind of side note about the Melicians. Wriothesley lets them in whenever they want because as a kid, when he was living on the streets or like escaping and living on the streets, they would always give him soup. There was always this one Melusine that would come and give him soup when he was on the streets. And so he has this like place in his heart for them. He uses their like Phantom group as like his #1 resource for intel.
Yeah.
So he always lets them visit the prison whenever they want so they can come and practice their interactions with humans, since we all know they're little awkward cuties around the human kinds. And they love to mess with him and sneak stickers onto all of his things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure he has a voice line where he's like, if you see a sticker, please just take it off.
Mm-hmm. It's adorable. And I want to say like his birthday art too is like he was covered in stickers.
Is this why you ship Nuvi and Wriothesley, Amanda?
Oh yeah, definitely part of it. So I'm a big Nuvolette and a big Nuvi Wriothesley shipper. I think part of it is that it's like these two men of power who really have like a weakness within them and they can recognize that in each other. And so it's almost like the two tough hard asses being able to be soft around one another, but also like the almost adoption of the Melusines. I've seen a lot of really cute art of the two of them together where like Wriothesley is a single father type of thing with Sidrine and he ends up dating Nuvolette. There's this one really, really, really fun TikToker who will link on the site who draws them in like more of a modern AU where Wriothesley is in charge of a prison and Nuvolette's in charge of like a court system. And it's really sweet because they kind of run into each other by accident with like Sidrine, Wriothesley's adopted daughter, and Sidrine tries to bring them together. And it's so sweet and so wholesome.
That's really cute because Nuvolette has a voice line about Sidrine where he's like, is anyone picking on her in that prison? Because I will snatch her out of that prison real quick. Also, like, when is she free? Like, when can I take her on vacation? Like, he cares about her a lot.
And Rise is like, hold up, if you're taking her on vacation, I'm going on vacation. So I can't manage this fortress without my bestie.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Clorin, Navia, y'all are in charge. And then they have gay panic.
You know, it's also really cute too, just to even go back to the adorable little sticker things, is it's actually a part of his idol as well.
Yes.
So when he's like, you know, fucking around with his gauntlet and like looking at it, he like stares into it and he's like, what's going on here? Oh, there's a sticker. I think it's a narwhal too.
Oh my god, my favorite's the one that they drew of him as a shark. Like, it's so stupid. Like, They're like, oh, shark boy, hoo ha ha. Which I do want to say, there's a lot of really fun interpretations of Wriothesley. I know I mentioned earlier, like this shark, I just mentioned this shark persona, right? And how I was talking earlier a little bit about how people see him as this hard ass. And then when you get to know him, he's very soft. And I think it's very reminiscent of Hades and that from Greek mythology. I'm pulling out the Greek today, Al. How's that feel?
We'll see. Continue. I'm sorry. I don't know why that came off.
It's okay. You're feeling threatened by my very slim Greek knowledge, and that's okay.
I don't think it's slim.
So I mean, my experience with the Greeks gods outside of school is Percy Jackson
And Lore Olympus.
Neon Gods,
Ah, yes. Thank you, Katie Robert.
the last season of Fortnite, and Hecate's, the like 6th grade research paper I did on Hecate's. I digress though. So Hades, as we know, is the god of hell, the lord of hell, the overlord down there. He's in charge. And I hate that I'm going to compare this to Neon Gods, but I am. So in the book Neon Gods,
For travelers that are under the age of 18,
just don't read it.
don't read it. You won't like it, but everyone above 18, you will love it.
I can talk about what I'm going to talk about, though. Don't worry. So if you, no matter your age, you can listen in. So in the book Neon Gods, it's about Persephone and Hades and their relationship, their romantic relationship together. And she's always been afraid of Hades, and she's always believed that he was this evil guy she also believes he's dead, and that he's this terrible baddie, and then no one should ever deal with him. And then she meets him accidentally. And she is so scared right off the bat. And then she slowly finds out that he's this really like sweet, caring, giving person. He wants to make sure she's eating because she seems weak. She comes in with injuries. He makes sure that she's tended to, even if it's not by him. He just wants to make sure that she is properly taken care of. And we find out that he like faked a death in order to take care of his like people in his city in the underground, quote unquote. And that's really familiar to me when it comes to Wriothesley. You know, this guy who is a murderer technically, despite the fact that he had a rightful reason to murder. He is a murderer. He pleaded guilty. He looks like a hard ass. He has the dark color scheme similar to Hades, unless you're talking about Hercules Hades, which is a neon blue, Disney Hercules Hades. And they even refer to Meropide and Fontaine as the overworld underworld. So the people in the underworld, aka in Meropide, are always like, I don't know if I want to go back to the overworld. Things are so different up there. Not to mention, they also give him the Cerberus constellation. Cerberus is known as the Hound of Hades, and he guards the gates of the underworld, which Wriothesley does.
It's also Greek for spot.
No, he has spots of stickers everywhere.
No. Like spot.
See spot kill.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know how like one of the most common names for dogs is Spot? It's literally Spot.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I love that.
It's great. Hades really loves Serb. He's the best puppy boy.
My C spot kill is like a reference to C spot run. It's like an old child's book trope.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I've never heard it before. But they mention, that Cerberus guards the gates of the underground, and that's really what Wriothesley does. He not only guards the gates of Meropide to make sure that everything happening and everyone coming in is right, but he also keeps them safe from within. The only thing that I am curious about, we know that Cerberus gets caught by Hercules, and so I'm very curious, is Nouvelette supposed to be Hercules in this situation, or are they just giving him this constellation just as a more of a ode to Hades instead of to Cerberus? I have a lot of questions. I also have questions if there's a reference to Persephone at all. Depending on the story you're reading, if you're going to go by OG Greek mythology, Neon God Greek mythology, Stray Gods mythology, there's a lot you could go based off of.
Hades, a video game mythology.
Yeah.
There's Persephone was offered as a deal with her parents. Persephone was kidnapped by Hades. I don't see any of that with Wriothesley, but I do see people choosing to stay in Meropide once they are sent there, which is another trope depending on where you're looking for Persephone. So it almost feels like the people of Meropide are the Persephones that stayed.
Caterpillar is Hades.
Oh God, no. I can definitely see that. I also kind of see Wriothesley as Cerberus because he is the hound guarding the gates of hell, and he guards all levels of Hades, which there are multiple levels, and some good times, some not so good times. But because he's the administrator, it throws me off too, because Hades he may be the lord of the underworld. It's the domain he has, but he's the god of wealth.
And we know Wriothesley was the wealthiest of them all.
Because Hades, his cult actually is quite interesting.
It's so funny that you say we're talking about Hades in like this more positive light, which he is talked about in a positive light sometimes. But when I was doing Fortnite Battle Pass stuff for the last season, one of the quests that I was doing was like, go kill 10 people to prove your worth to Hades. And I was like, am I proving to Hades that I'm a good guy? Or am I proving that I'm willing to get the work done? Because I'm getting some mixed signals right now.
I mean, everyone wants to be in Hades. They're dying to get
sure
there.
You were proving that you're a serial killer.
And do you mean get to hell, Al?
Hell, Hades, Tartarus.
Do people call it Hades?
Some people call it Hades because it is his domain. He is the king or lord of the underworld because he's the god of wealth and the god of, I think it's burial rites specifically, because many of his temples are in underground caves, which were said to be entrances to Tartarus and into Hades and hell. Just multiple different names for the underworld. It really depends. I mean, the story of him getting the underworld is he drew the short stick. Poseidon got the sea and Zeus got the skies.
And Zeus got everything else.
Yeah, basically. Golden child alert.
I mean, is Wriothesley more of a Hades character, even though his constellation is Cerberus?
Honestly, he fits the idea and the vibe, but the person that really fits Hades and what he kind of represents and how like strict he is Nouvelette.
Well, he fits everything. I mean, he's just perfect in every way.
But he is the lord of the realm. He is ruling over Fontaine. And the fortress technically is the underworld.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he is judge.
Yes. And in a lot of ways, Wriothesley is the one keeping people in, and he's made a great environment for people to want to stay. And we could talk about how he's got the nature versus nurture trope. We also have him like understanding that people commit crimes when they don't have enough resources. And so he's created an environment that, one, you will always have food. Two, you will always have shelter. And once you take all that like competition for survival out, no one's trying to fucking kill each other.
Also, can we talk about like how Wriothesley got his vision? Because he got it on the day that he went to prison after killing his foster parents. And he was like literally at the registrar's desk and like was fishing for something in his pocket for her and pulled out this vision that he didn't know was there. And she was like, you better hide that. And so he actually hid his vision between layers of his clothes so that no one could see it or steal it.
That would not fly in today's prisons.
I know. But like it was smart because everyone was like stealing other people's visions and it would make him a target. So he actually like sewed it into his clothing, like the lining of his clothing, and no one saw it. And then he didn't actually start wearing it on the outside of his clothes until he got the honorary title of Duke. And that involved him going to the Fontaine Palace to meet Nouvelette, and Nouvelette was like, nice. Like it was really like, okay, like Nouvelette's giving me this title. I'm gonna actually, even though I've been the leader of Meropide for a long time now, I'm going to suddenly sort of like come out as a vision holder. And he did that when he got his title. And I really love that, Nouvelette sort of helped ease him into that mindset. Like he felt more comfortable doing it because Neuvillette was giving him that title.
You mentioned him getting his vision, but do you also know how he got his name?
Yeah, he read his name in an obituary when he was like a teenager. And then after he killed his foster parents and woke up in the hospital, some woman was there and was like, what's your name? And he was like, I don't want to use the name that my foster parents gave me. So I'm going to retrieve this random name that I saw in an obituary and, the paper that I thought was really weird. So it was kind of just like a random, like, oh, I remember this weird name that I'm going to pull out of the air.
Interesting that he took a dead man's name. Very Hades of him.
What's really funny is that there's a fuck ton of people with the last name and first name Wriothesley.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there.
There's an officer of arms and a fucking member of parliament.
In the game?
No, in IRL.
I was like, what? Yeah, it's a real, yeah, okay.
And a lot of them, like Wriothesley Russell, the second, and then the son, the third, Duke of Bedford. Can bed me anytime, Wriothesley. Fuck!
No! I did quickly. I want to just, before we get too out of hand, I wanted to just bring up a few people and interesting notes on Wriothesley's life, because we've talked a little bit about his past. We know his family life now. We know what's going on currently, and that he talks with Neuvillette. He loves Cedrine with all of his heart, works with Chlorine, but he has a few other interesting ties to people. One of them being Navia. He actually met Navia's father, Callus, prior to Callus's death while Wriothesley was the Duke. And because of a deal that he made with Callus, he doesn't work directly with Navia. And he tries to avoid her, but we do not know what this deal was.
It was don't sleep with my daughter.
It seems almost like there is like a you're going to bring death to her type of vibe somehow. I don't trust you. The other point of interest I just wanted to bring up was his relationship with Furina. He felt like he let her down during his trial because he just said he was guilty, so there was no fun at his trial. So she literally walked out like halfway through. She just left his trial early. But Wriothesley doesn't realize that's why Furina left early, and he thinks that he let his like Archon down, basically. So he is constantly trying to like make up for that, and he's always buying her gifts, specifically different teas. And Furina confirms this because she actually tells Neuvillette about it. And she's like, yeah, this guy's always giving me tea, and it's always so good.
I mean, he's a tea freak.
Well, is he always giving her tea or just like one time?
So, well, he notes that he's always doing things to try to get her back, and Furina confirms that she was gifted tea. I don't know if that's the only gift that he's giving.
Like, do you think that maybe he sort of had a suspicion that she was a fraud?
I don't think so. No, not in his voice line about her. Definitely not. Because the only times he's interacted with Furina were his trial. I don't think he's had any other interactions with the Archon.
But like over the years of running the prison, don't you think that he would sort of be like, oh yeah, I can smell a fraud?
I don't know, because I feel like Neuvillette didn't know. And if Neuvillette didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Neuvillette didn't know. None of the people knew.
That was the best kept secret of all time, man.
Yeah, I don't know how they kept it from Neuvillette for so long. Which would be, I'd really love to see them get together and Wriothesley to be like, I'm sorry, I let you down. She'd be like, what? Like, I'm a movie director now. That's all I do.
Or would he be like he would handcuff her and be like, you're going to prison.
You're going to prison for lying to the people.
You're a fraud.
Also, I did want to bring up a little bit about Wriothesley's story quest. We have a separate story quest for him. And my favorite part about it is that we are undercover looking into the truth behind the Fedora Society.
Beret.
The Beret Society.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it does. It's a whole different hat.
It is a whole different hat, but it's a fucking hat, and it needs to get the fuck off.
Wow.
I hate fedoras. I hate
that's
berets.
okay, because it's a beret.
I hate them both. And look. It's just because they don't sit on my head because I've got a fat fucking head. And I'm so mad because also, like a beret society,
They're French.
you're trying to... Sure, it's French. It's really New Orleans. with Dolgier.
It's I always think of Irish.
You know where it's French. You're still going back to the
He
French.
didn't have a French accent. He had a Nolans accent.
He had an asshole accent is what he had.
I will take rudeness over, oh, bless your heart, any day. Sorry, I got a little crazy there.
Note to self, Al really hates berets
And fedoras.
and fedoras.
Maybe it's because, I don't know. Never
Because
mind.
they won't fit on your fat head.
That too. You know, give me a wide brim, straight fucking floppy hat. I want to look like a pirate that I can just shove it. And
Why
it's
do we
just
keep bringing up pirates?
I don't know. I love pirates.
Stop the pirate talk.
Why do you hate pirates?
I don't know.
Why do you hate Beto?
Yeah, why do you hate Beto?
And Kazuha.
Yeah.
Kazuha, I
yeah.
already told you, is not a pirate.
He is a pirate. He's working
Yes,
as a
he
pirate right
is.
now.
He's enlisted as a pirate.
Just like Wriothesley's an honorary duke.
Neither of them are pirates. Beto is a captain of a ship.
If I had any pull at all, I would totally try my hardest to make Albedo a freaking pirate.
Albedo would be the cutest pirate, though.
Oh, then you would like pirates.
Okay, then it's okay.
Then it's fine. I will say the start of the story quest is you hear a voice in a box. And so when I first heard this, I'm like, there's a dick in a box.
Yeah.
It's a dick in a box.
Just a natural conclusion. A talking dick.
Because, you
in a
know, it
box.
was talking.
It was talking and he was an asshole. And I found his fucking fedora hat and he's like, that's not the right
It's a
one.
beret.
Look.
It's a beret. And he didn't actually lose it. Wriothesley went and stole it and hid it because he was trying to figure shit
This
out.
is fucking Sherlock Holmes. And we're Watson, bitch.
This is another situation where if we had just gone to Wriothesley first while in the fortress instead of doing our own thing,
Yeah.
things would have been solved a
Mhm.
lot quicker. We needed to go find a badillion coupons. We could have asked Wriothesley. We need to find this stupid hat. We could have asked Wriothesley.
Either way.
I mean, Wriothesley does bring it to us too, so at least it's not too long that we're sitting there looking for the hat. Well, we go and buy another hat.
I would fucking, oh my God, I would scream. But so after we do that and we save this man from his box without his hat, we have a dinner date with Wriothesley and we have a gem out of a box.
We don't have it.
No, well, Wriothesley found it being smuggled and he's like, oh, there's a bunch of snacks in here, Paimon, here you go. And it's like, she touched the gem and was like, and she fucking says she remember bad things when she touched it.
Yeah, and so does Traveler says the same thing when she touches it.
Wriothesley too. If a traveler touches it, we actually see it.
My question is, what bad things is Paimon seeing? Is it?
An empty dinner plate.
That's what I was about to ask. Are we getting more Paimon lore? Are we actually like, ooh, are we getting a hint to your true identity?
Mhm. It's the battle of the primordial one with the second who came.
Exactly.
I was working on something with the Remuria stuff the other day.
Uh-huh.
There's this person, they yell, you may be in this small body now, but I recognize you in an instant. And I literally took a picture and sent it to Brandon and I go, oh my God, is this dude talking about Paimon? And 2 seconds later, I realized he was talking to a cat. I was like, fuck.
Well, that solves it.
I was like, oh my God, we're finally getting Paimon lore. Like, this is great. No.
Nope.
Just cat lore.
Just cat lore.
Just people being turned into, a cat. Shapeshifters.
Meow, meow.
But to make a long story quest short, we have Jogier, who basically has Dead Poet Society, but lame, basically as a front for him to try and take control over the fortress of Meropide from Wriothesley. And Wriothesley's kind of like on his trail. He's not being quite covert. There's a moment where one of the people from the Beret Society try and come in and think her name is Aves. Interesting. And she's trying to get Wriothesley to understand, she can't really say anything, but he just, this fucking hat motherfucker walks straight into the office and is like, well, now here's your grace. Let's just calm down and talk this out while I forcibly move her away from you so I can control the narrative. Don't you understand, sir? And I'm just, the fucking audacity of this fucking balding bitch beret man.
Basically, this guy with the beret is using the berets to control people with a poison. And he's putting like a pin into their hair that is like slowly poisoning them.
It's a thorn that inserts into their skull.
Yeah, and then he's using the beret to cover it up. And this woman comes to like talk forward about it because she's in love with someone and she just wants to get married. And
she's married. She's in love with the dude who was in the box.
Yes, she's in love with the guy from the box and she just wants to get married and like move on. And so she goes in to tell Wriothesley the truth, and that's when the beret man walks in his terrible accent and tries to sway her away from us. And we allow it to happen because we're going to find out the truth anyway. We find out about the poisoning, and Wriothesley kicks some major ass. And that's how the quest ends. We win.
It's glorious. And not only that, we get a second fucking date with him. Yes, we have lunch and it's glorious.
Mm-hmm. And then he fists everyone.
And that's when he tells us he killed his parents so nonchalantly. Like, great.
Murder.
Hot danger boys.
Murder and Meropide.
Well, I was gonna touch a little bit more on the douchier. I can't do it without being a pompous bitch saying it. Douchier. Doucheman.
Douchey, my A.
Douchey, my A. And Wriothesley are kind of the juxtapositions of the different philosophies of imprisonment and kind of handling prison structure. So with Doucheman, beret balding ass bitch head is completely big brother authoritarian. He does not care about anything other than control. He's using people as a means to an end. Very authoritarian. Something we see primarily in the States imprisonment system because there's so much to talk about on this topic. But basically, the more people you have, the more money you make. And that's not good. That's not a sustainable system. And here we have Wriothesley. Yeah, he's intimidating. He's a boss bitch. Like, he's a top for sure. But he cares about the fact that people are human. He understands people are human beings. They have free will. They can either continue down the paths that got them there into the fortress or make a chance to redeem themselves, to have actual reformation and be able to take skills that they learn in the fortress to the overworld or stay in the underworld. It depends. And because he's made it a system where, yeah, everyone has coupons, everyone gets, at least one meal a day, more than likely a lot more, because those coupons are quite generous. And no one has to worry about where they're going to sleep, what shelter they have. No one is being pestered for resources because the resources are provided. There's no need for crime. There's no need for people to backhand stuff unless you're like douche beret man, who is just a greedy little shit. And Wriothesley very fucking quickly.
He's a bad built, butch body beret bitch.
Yes. Oh my God. And he's it is surprisingly funny to me of how quickly Wriothesley was able to fucking sniff that shit out. Instantly kind of knew. And by the time, I can't remember when this would possibly take place. Clearly after the Archon, but not long after. Mm-hmm. Just thinking someone had the audacity after he brought out the big ship. It's like, I'm gonna fuck with this man.
Not the ship.
Not the ship. The fucking Ark.
The Wingalet.
The Wingalet.
What is the history behind that again?
So he realized that the flood prophecy was probably going to come true. So he just used all of his factory resources, because the prison is a factory, to create a big ship. And he actually clarifies, I think, or at least the lore clarifies, that he didn't actually think that it would compare to the Golden Fortuna, which was the Grand Remurian ship. even though it was sort of made in its image, I guess, but he really just saw it as a means to escape disaster for people.
Yeah. I mean, his skin was turning red, damn it.
And they saved like 5 whole people from that flood, so I think it was worth it.
Only 5, man. That's, a whole society right there, huh?
It's a whole family.
I mean, can't Oceanids like split themselves into other people? It was like 10,
10,
people.
maybe 20. They saved like a whole little corner of town.
He's a boxer, and there's a long history of English boxers.
All right, let's not talk about your underwear. Oh,
I don't got boxes.
You got briefs?
No. So boxing has like a long standing history. Like, it's older than shit. Throwing your fist at someone, nah. You don't need it to be a sport to do it. However, in England, because Wriothesley is so English coded and like a lot of what he's doing is very reminiscent of like mid to late 19th century, like booming industry England. Think like sooty London. Boxing was a very, very fun pastime. If you weren't like people who were super wealthy could go and watch boxing, people who were super poor would go and watch boxing, people would bet, lots of stuff. And it's very funny that one, even though he's a catalyst, his attacks are full on boxing moves.
Like Haizu.
Exactly. Though Haizu has a different technique and is a bit more, I don't want to say kung fu because that's not correct, but it's something else. I can't remember which thing it is, but it's full on like beat down brass knuckles, Peaky Blinder bullshit. And I love it. I love it. I love that they put it in there. It's such a nuanced thing and it makes sense because like he's scrappy as fuck and he got his money in the ring.
Yeah. I love that he's the British French boy with his love of tea too. But I do think that's all the time we have today to sip our tea about Wriothesley. We have to move on because we have some mail from Kirana. So we do have a few messages from travelers today. Our first message is going to come from Travis. Travis said, longtime listener of yours here, and I just want to say thank you guys. You do an awesome job.
Aw,
thank you,
thanks.
Travis.
Keep doing what you're doing. And I do have a suggestion and a question for you guys. I know I suggested on Spotify a few weeks back, but I wanted to ask if you guys could do an episode on the travelers themselves. It'd be pretty cool to hear your opinion on them currently within the story. But my question is, what are your favorite traveler-specific ships? I'm going to go first because I don't even have to think about it. Chai-Lumi.
We all knew that was coming.
Yeah, my favorite ship is Chai-Lumi. My second favorite ship, ironically enough, because Al brought up the rebound, is Zhao-Lumin. Those are really the only 2 big traveler ships that I like. Child is my number 1 favorite. I really hope that he comes back around and we get some sort of redemption with the traveler specifically. Not necessarily his redemption arc in Teyvat, but his redemption with Lumin or Ether, depending on who you play with. For me, I think Child betraying us, he was this character that we could trust right away in Li Wei. He saved our life kind of right away. And that betrayal hits so hard. And then the next time we see him is in Inazuma, when he's hanging out with Yoimiya, and we kind of, or I guess the next time we see him is with Tusser. Then is the next time we see him is with Yoimiya. And by then, because of the Tusser quest, we've learned a little bit about him. We know he likes kids and stuff like that. So we kind of let it slide. And then to run into him in Fontaine, and really, Child was a big part of saving Fontaine in the end. And I do think he's slowly getting that quest. And there is that redemption. And I think Traveler definitely is still proving that they care for him. And we definitely see that in the Arlecchino quest line as well, where we get to talk with Child a little bit. So, which is really fun for me. And then my second favorite one would be Zhao. But I'm not even going to talk about that one because I raved for far too long about Child.
I stopped listening.
Wow. Who's your favorite ship with the Traveler, Brandon?
Ooh, I'm going to say Ayaka.
I saw that one coming too.
First of all, I love her. Well, I play as Ether, so, but also like, I just feel like Ayaka, I feel like people forget how romantic that whole Ayaka, I forget if it was Archon or Story Quest. I think it was a Story Quest,
No, it was Archon.
But we
I
like
think
go on this like epic, yeah, maybe it was
It's
Archon, but we go on
Archon,
this
yeah.
epic date with her, and she's so romantic, and she woos you.
By dancing in her socks.
She got her socks wet for us.
Ugh. Bleh.
Ugh.
French foot right there. French foot.
It's like, I know that it is a romantic, cute, sweet scene, but I just can't get past the socks, man. And like, I know, I don't want it to seem like I'm being insensitive toward a culture. I know that there is a certain level of like Japanese culture coming out in Inazuma with that. But like the idea of my socks being wet in the water just freaks me out so much that I can't even like appreciate it.
she can have Toma give her dry socks right after that.
He was there?
And then, I'm sure he'll like suck her toes or whatever, but
This just got so worse. Ugh, not sucking toes. Somebody else,
you can't
please
have it both
go.
ways. You can't have, like you don't want the wet socks, but you also don't want her toes being sucked. Like, geez.
Yeah, I just want her to go in barefoot or wearing water shoes.
She's gonna whip water shoes out from behind her
She's
back.
like, gonna do that really romantic dance with galoshes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Toma could pull them out for her. If Toma's gonna suck her toes, he could pull out galoshes.
I mean, he's dedicated to the job. So
he's dedicated to her brother.
yes. I mean, he sucks his toes too. So
Someone else go. Please rescue me.
People are gonna hate me for this, but I am real into it. Traveler and Wanderer.
Oh, I like it. I'm here for that. I'm okay with that.
I like the redemption arc, man.
yeah, I feel like people like that.
People love Scarra with, or I guess Wanderer with anyone.
Look, Hat Boy gotta do it.
Hat Boy's got to do what a Hat Boy's got to do.
But are you more like Team Scarra or Team Wanderer?
Wanderer for sure, just because we have that redemption and like we have that fucking moment with Irminsul. I think, yeah, I don't think it'd be good with, I mean, hate sex, sure.
Yeah, like where he's like, he might decide to eat me.
Delicious.
No, I thought we decided he wasn't a cannibal.
Not technically, but he thought about it.
I've thought about it. Like, that doesn't make me.
Oh, wow.
You've never thought about like what would happen if like you ended up in like a deserted island?
No.
Really? Well, like my thought is like, there was that story about like the soccer team that like, got
Yes.
stuck and they had to eat each
Mhm.
other. Like I think of that and I'm like, would I be able to do it?
Well, I guess, but I never thought I might eat someone. And you would. The answer is yes, I would.
No, I don't think I'd be able to, but I've thought about it.
I would eat that butt.
No, I would eat Wriothesley's cake.
Mine actually, oddly enough, is very close to Fiend's. I think that the child Lumine story, I think it's pushed by the
Yes.
story. I think that they're meant to be that way. I don't necessarily think, I don't put my rose-colored glasses on for child, but I still love him for that. Like, I like him as the bad guy. But I do feel like that's I feel like the story tries to push it. But the odd part is that I feel that way. I play as Lumine. But I think that if I played as Aether, I would go the Zhao Aether route because I feel like that kind of situation really like the whole like looking out for him. Like, I don't know, there's something about it that just has a little bit more appeal, maybe.
Well, I think Aether and Lumine, despite the fact that they're both the quote unquote traveler, they have different vibes. And we talked about that a lot. So it makes sense that you wouldn't necessarily consider them in the same ships.
Yeah.
I actually do. I don't consider them like a different vibe. I think they're the same. But I get it when people do feel like they're different because they're sort of coded as like one is the sun and one is the moon and whatever.
All right. Well, now that we've confessed our love, because we are all technically the traveler, thank you, Travis, for your question.
And thank you for the suggestion of the episode talking about Traveler's lore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Azirim, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but it's Azirim. And they said, I'd like to start off by thanking you guys for the Chasm episode, because if I hadn't listened, I wouldn't have any idea about the Mushroom Man quest, nor would I have finished collecting the Orbs of Blue Death. Also, thank you for the idea of Scientist Urabashi.
You're welcome. Again, Oribashi's coming up. We'll get into it soon.
I know. What are the trends this season? Orabashi, pirates.
Just with like his glasses and his little T-Rex arms.
For my question, this came from the intro to the Kaching episode. Is there a 5-star character that you all wanted but could not / have not pulled for in the longest time? It could be a permanent or limited 5-star. For me, it ironically was Kaching, as she's dodged me for 2 to 3 years.
Same.
I have C6 Mona and C4 Jean before I've even gotten a Kaching.
Wow.
I'm also still missing Chi-Chi and Dia, but I really want Kaching. Keep up the amazing work, everyone. I can't wait to hear more of what y'all have cooking.
You don't have Chi-Chi. That's amazing. I have a C6 Chi-Chi.
Holy shit,
I
man.
have a C4 Diluc and Jean. Have never received Kuching. I think I have a C1 Dia, a C2 Tainari that Feeny gets really mad about.
I do. It's not fair. Well, now this could be a 5-star limited or not limited. So why don't we give one for each?
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm obviously going to go with Kuching for unlimited. For limited, I'm going to say Navia because I really want that for my all Geo team.
Mm-hmm.
So my limited one, I'm going to go Tignari because I want to C6 him, and it's very hard when the game doesn't give him to you. So where I have a C6 Diluc, I have a C2 Tignari. So I'd like to get more Tignaris for my like unlimited one. My limited, if you had asked me last year, would have been Kokomi. I was devastated when I did not get her, and in the last few months when I've done her trials, I haven't felt as bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
So mine would be Wriothesley or Chiori. I really wanted Chiori similar to Brandon for Navia because I wanted an all Geo team, and I was going to do Chiori, Navia, Albedo, and Goru.
Ooh.
So I am definitely mad I didn't get Chiori or her sword, but Wriothesley truly, ironically enough, because this is his episode, feels like the one that got away. Like, I must tell Tiff like once a week when we're playing, I'm like, damn, I really wish I had just gotten him. I wish I had like paid for him. So when Navia came around, I like refused to not get her because I was like, I already feel shitty that I didn't get Wriothesley. I'm not going to do that again.
For me, there's only one character in this game that I do not have. And that's Furina.
So just Furina for Al.
No, because that's for my limited. Because one, I did hard pity for this bitch. And then I went, by the time I ran out of time, I was at like 62 pity and was so fucking upset because I wanted her because she goes with my next pick. And that's Jean, because she was the first ever 5-star I got. And I have C6 Kaching. I have C5 Mona. I have C3 Deha, C5 Diluc, C2 Tignari, and I am sitting at a C1 of Jean,
Your
my
fave.
wife. And I'm so
I wish we could
upset.
swap.
I know. I would love it. I mean, I am building Kaching, and you know, she's a great comp for my aggravate team.
So I play this game like it's Pokemon, and I have every character. I'm proud of my entire my little collection of all of my characters. I mean, outside of when new ones have come out, Eula was the one that I was waiting for the longest. I had actually been pulling for her, or thought I was pulling for her, and got Albedo before Fiends early on.
It was better.
So I was upset that I hadn't gotten her, and it took a very long time for Eula to come back. So I was glad when I finally got her, and it like completed my set. But like, since I have them all now, if I was looking for one now, I'd probably lean more toward, I would love to C6 my Raiden. I have her at C5, so that would be really cool.
Yes.
And I would say like my regular ones is probably Diluc, because I play with him a lot. I have him at a C3 now, so I would love to get him higher. Or Chi-Chi maybe, because Chi-Chi I have it a C4, and I'd love for her to raise the entire dead team.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would have Babs there to rise one person, then Chi-Chi to take the whole team back.
I'm dead.
Could you imagine? That'd be ridiculous.
Dead like Chi-Chi.
Revived like Chi-Chi.
Well, thank you, Aziram, for your question.
Thank you.
I do think that's all the time we have overall today. Thank you for travelers for hanging out with us today while we talk about Wriothesley, coming to prison with us, going to murder trials, defying gravity with a flying ship. There's a lot of fun stuff that happens when you spend the day with Wriothesley. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Deepwood Memories artifact set and the lore behind it. Until then, travelers, safe journeys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Orange is the New Black nerds. I know you're out there.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I will